Okay, so large language models are everywhere, right? ChatGPT, you name it. It feels like this is the path forward for AI. But what if it's not? What if this whole approach is actually a dead end? We're going to dig into a really powerful and kind of controversial argument from one of the true pioneers of AI.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. It's from Richard Sutton, who, by the way, just won the Turing Award. That's basically the Nobel Prize of Computer Science, so, he's a big deal. And his point is this: LLMs are amazing at mimicking people, but they're not actually figuring out what to do. They're missing the whole point of intelligence. So, you might be asking, why should we listen to this guy? Well, Richard Sutton isn't just some critic yelling from the sidelines. He is literally one of the founding fathers of a whole field called reinforcement learning. He's an architect of a totally different way to think about building AI. His work has been absolutely foundational for decades. Let's break it down. Right now, the whole AI boom is built on one big idea: feeding models a giant library of human text, pretty much the entire internet. Sutton's argument is that this approach, which is all about imitation, is going to hit a wall, a hard wall. He's convinced it's going to be left in the dust by something much more powerful, a system based not on copying, but on actual discovery. And this really gets us to the core of the conflict. It's almost a philosophical divide in how you even think about creating intelligence. Is it about learning by mimicking everything we've already said and done? Or is it about learning by doing things in the world and actually experiencing what happens next? Okay, so let's look at these two paths side by side, because it makes it super clear. You've got LLMs on one side. They learn from static data, basically a giant snapshot of the past. Their whole job? Predict the next word a person would write. You could say they're like a really, really sophisticated parrot. But then you have reinforcement learning, or RL, and that's totally different. It's dynamic. It learns from a live feed: sensation, action, reward. Its goal isn't to guess what someone might say. Its goal is to predict what's going to happen because of what it does. It's building knowledge from scratch, not just rehashing ours. And this quote from Sutton just nails it. He's saying an LLM doesn't really have a model of the world. No. It has an incredible model of us, of how a person models the world. It's just a reflection, right? An echo. It's not the real thing. It's mimicking the result of intelligence, not the messy, active process of being intelligent. Okay, so this brings us to the next big piece of his argument: the whole idea of having a goal. For Sutton, this isn't just some minor detail, it's everything. It's pretty much the definition of intelligence. See, without a real-world goal, you're just a system that does stuff. You're not an agent that's actually trying to achieve something. And he's not just making this up. He's pulling from this classic definition by another AI legend, John McCarthy. The whole point of computation, when you're talking about intelligence, is to figure out how to get things done, how to achieve goals out there in the real world. It's all about being active and having a purpose. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hang on a second. LLMs do have a goal. Their whole purpose is to predict the next word, the next token. And look, that's a totally fair point. It seems like a perfectly good objective. But for Sutton, that just completely misses the point. Right. So here's the key difference. Sutton would say that predicting the next token is a passive goal. The weather forecaster analogy is perfect. A forecaster can predict it's going to rain, but they can't actually make it rain, right? They're not changing the world, they're just describing it. A real goal, in Sutton's book, is about taking actions that change your environment to get what you want. Think about a squirrel bearing nuts, or a chess AI making a move to checkmate its opponent. That's active, that's real. And this whole debate is perfectly summed up in Sutton's famous essay from 2019, called The Bitter Lesson. It's a huge deal in the AI world, seriously influential. But he feels like everyone's gotten the message wrong. And the irony is, people are using his own essay to justify the exact thing he's arguing against, this total focus on LLMs. So let's look at the two ways people read this essay. The common interpretation is pretty simple. The bitter lesson just means that massive computation is all that matters. And so, hey, let's just pour all of human knowledge into bigger and bigger models. But that's not what Sutton meant at all. His actual point is much smarter. He's saying the lesson isn't just about a ton of compute. It's about combining that compute with general methods that learn from raw, direct experience. And those are the methods that will always win in the long run over systems that just rely on pre-digested human knowledge. For him, LLMs are incredible, sure, but they're just the latest version of an old approach that's doomed to be replaced. So, if LLMs are a dead end, then what's the right path? Well, Sutton says we need to go all in on what he calls the experiential paradigm. It's about building agents that learn the same way we do, the same way animals do, by actually interacting with the world.
And at its heart is this really simple but incredibly powerful loop. An agent senses the world, it does something, an action, and then it gets a reward, or maybe a penalty. That's really it. Intelligence is just the process of getting better and better at choosing actions that lead to more rewards. Your knowledge isn't what you've read in a book, it's what you've learned about the consequences of what you do.
So if we were to build one of these true learning agents, what would be inside? Sutton says it needs 4 main parts. First, you need a policy. That's its game plan, how it decides what to do. Second, a value function, which is kind of like its gut instinct, a sense of, are things going good or bad right now? Third, a state representation, which is its way of figuring out, okay, where am I and what's going on? And finally, a real-world model, one that predicts what will happen if it takes an action. Not predicting a word, but predicting actual cause and effect in the world.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. If we actually succeed in building an agent like this, the implications are massive. We're not just talking about better tech. For Sutton, this is the path that leads to what he calls succession, a future where inevitably, digital minds become the main form of intelligence on the planet.
And his logic for this is pretty straightforward. It's a 4-step argument. Step 1, humanity is disorganized, there's no single person in charge. Step 2, we're smart, and we will eventually figure out how intelligence really works. Step 3, once we do, we're not just going to stop at human-level AI, we're going to keep going and build superintelligence. And Step 4, over time, the smartest players in any game tend to get all the resources and power, put it all together, and for him, the conclusion is, well, it's inevitable.
But here's the wild part. Sutton doesn't see this as some kind of terrible dystopian future. Not at all. He sees it on a cosmic scale. Think about it. For billions of years, life on Earth has been based on replication. Evolution, DNA, making copies without really understanding how it all works. He thinks we're now moving into a new era, an era of design, where intelligence can finally understand itself and build even better intelligence from the ground up. Which leaves us, humanity, with a choice. How are we going to look at this transition? Do we see these new minds as our offspring, our children, and feel proud of what they become, like a continuation of our own story? Or do we see them as something alien, something scary that we have to fight? What's amazing is that Sutton believes the choice of how we feel about it is entirely up to us. And so, at the end of the day, it all comes back to that one huge question. Is the future of intelligence going to be built by mimicking the past, by creating a perfect mirror of everything humans have ever known? Or will it be built by experiencing the present, by creating a new kind of mind that learns for itself, from scratch, by actually living and acting in the world? Because the path we go down, that could end up defining everything.